Hi guys, this is going to be the first video of business management in the IB course. I'm so happy to be bringing this to you guys, but this is 1.1, the very beginning, Introduction to Business Management. What is a business? So in this class we have 3 objectives. The first is going to be describing the nature of a business, which asks you to demonstrate knowledge and understanding. And then the second is to explain economic sectors, asking you to demonstrate application and analysis. And then the third is going to be explaining challenges and opportunities for starting up a business. The same. Demonstrate application and analysis. What is a business? It is a decision-making company or organization which may or may not be for profit. A lot of people have the predisposed notion that businesses are all profit-making entities. However, they are not. You'll learn about that more in 1.2, where you learn about different business entities, but not all businesses are profit-making entities. They may or may not be for profit. Businesses produce goods or provide services, and they exist to satisfy the wants and needs of customers, organizations, and governments. Let's begin with the inputs of a business, and these are the factors of production. Inputs are the resources that businesses use in order to transform them into outputs by adding value. In traditional economic theory, these are called the factors of production. So, beginning with capital, this is the amount of money needed to run a business and the man-made goods, such as machinery, buildings, vehicles, etc. These are the financial resources. And then we have land, which is the space where a business operates, raw materials and natural resources used to make a product. These are the physical resources. And then labor is the physical and mental efforts of people to produce products and services. These are the human resources. And then we have entrepreneurship, which is the skill set that combines all the factors of production in order to transform them into products. We'll discuss entrepreneurship more in the last portion of class, but it is the actions of an entrepreneur who shows initiative and takes risks to set up, invest, and run a business. This can be modeled with the input-output model. Here we have our inputs, which are our factors of production, and then they go through processes wherein they have value added to them. Added value is an extra perk and feature that is added to inputs in order to sell them to customers. If there's no added value, then there's no business, because why would someone pay extra for something that didn't undergo any transformation? There are 2 major ways in which businesses add value, and these are production of goods and provision of services. Speaking of production, this can either be capital intensive or labor intensive. Capital intensive refers to high reliance on machinery in production process. For example, car manufacturing is usually highly automated and mainly performed by robots. Labor-intensive refers to high reliance on human labor. For example, the textile industry is usually highly labor-intensive and depends on the manual work of people. Finally, we have our outputs. So an output is a product, and this can either be tangible, which is a good, or intangible, which is a service. And I'm actually going to write this down because this is a point of confusion for a lot of people, but products include either goods or services. A lot of people say products when they mean good, but goods are products. Not all products are goods, because services are also products. Right, moving on. Business functions. Regardless of a business's size, location, or other characteristics, they all have the same 4 business functions. These functions are also the other topics in the business management course. We have Introduction to Business Management, which is the first, human resources is the second, finance is the third, so on and so on. Beginning with human resources manages the workforce and laborers of the company. They deal with recruitment, wages, communication, and motivation of employees. Essentially, they make sure that the right people are employed and paid by the business. They're regularly trained, appraised, and treated in accordance with regulations. Finance is in charge of managing the organization's money and assets. They ensure that accurate recordings and reportings of financial documentation are taken. They plan for future costs, revenues, and cash flow, and keep records of the costs, revenues, and cash flow in the past, as well as financial analysis and budgeting. Then we have marketing, which ensures that a company's product sells. It's concerned with identifying and satisfying consumers' needs and wants, and is in charge of promotions, advertisements, etc. They make sure that the right product is sold at the right price, in the right place, using appropriate promotion methods. And then finally, we have operations management, which is in charge of business functions and processes that produce the actual goods. They are concerned with research and development, delivery, stock management, etc. They make sure that the goods are produced using relevant methods of production and or make sure that the most efficient processes are used to provide these services. It's imperative these 4 business functions work together in harmony to achieve the same business goal. This reliance on each other and unity by the same common goal is called interdependence. So it's imperative that there is no one singular function that is more important than the others, because they must work together in harmony and must be balanced. Now that we have that, we're going to move on to the second part of class, which is economic sectors. So, economic sector refers to all the businesses within an economy that are involved in similar activity. Here we have my little photos of different businesses within each sector. So we're going to begin with the primary sector. Businesses within the primary sector are involved with the extraction of raw materials. So here in this example, we can see agriculture. Some other examples are mining, fishing, forestry, oil extraction, just any businesses that their main business activity is the extraction of raw materials. And then we have secondary sector businesses, which are businesses that transform these raw materials extracted by primary sector businesses into goods. They refer to manufacturing. Then we have tertiary sector, which is the provision of services. Some examples of these would be banking, retail stores, cinemas, transportation, education, so on and so forth. And then quaternary sector. Tertiary sector and quaternary sector are quite similar. However, the difference is that quaternary sector businesses, there's an emphasis placed upon intellectual activities or innovation services. So that'd be services relating to data, knowledge, and IT. So for example, like a video game developer. All consumer goods go through these different economic sectors. For example, bread. You buy this bread in a grocery store. However, the crops were harvested by farmers who were in the primary sector, and then these were processed into flour in the secondary sector, which was then delivered to supermarkets that sell them in the tertiary sector. So this route or path that these raw materials go through on their way to becoming finished consumer goods is called the chain of production. It depends on the product being sold. For bread, the chain of production is relatively short, and it doesn't take that much time. However, for more complex goods, such as cars, machinery, the production chain is more complicated. It's important that we know about the different economic sectors because you can make a lot of conclusions about how different businesses might benefit in the future if you know what the different economic sectors are. So, as we can see in this graph here, as time goes by, the importance of the primary sector falls. And that's because there's not much added value, as the sector is simply the extraction of raw materials. The secondary sector is increasing at first, which is called industrialization, as manufacturing is growing. However, at a certain point, right here, this is typically when it's cheaper to manufacture these goods in different countries. The tertiary sector is constantly growing because the more the economy develops, the wealthier people typically become, and the more money they have and prefer to spend on tertiary sector activities, such as better education, traveling, etc. All of these are services. And then here we have quaternary. As time goes by, quaternary activities are also increasing, same as tertiary. However, they're proportional to technological process. So, of course, quaternary sector activities cannot start at the very beginning of time because there was no technology at the very beginning of time. They have to start here, where they're proportional to technological process. I hope that's all clear. We're going to move to startups. Before we really begin speaking about startups, which are new businesses, we have to talk about entrepreneurship. I really should have switched these two, put this one here and this one here, but you live and you learn. We are going to begin by speaking about entrepreneurs. As mentioned in the factors of productions, people who have the skill set that allows them to combine all factors of production and start an enterprise are called entrepreneurs. These are typically the founders and the owners of businesses. There's big risk for them, however, there's also big reward. They organize inputs of production into goods and services. They obtain money and buy the inputs needed and then make decisions based on that. They take risks and provide the vision for business ideas. They assume large financial risks and they provide sufficient resources. One of the most important characterizations of entrepreneurs is their risk-taking ability. In addition to entrepreneurs, there's also intrapreneurs who are very, very similar to entrepreneurs, however they work for a company. So they're employee of an organization, they use the resources of the company to undertake projects, and therefore their risk is very little, especially in comparison to entrepreneurs. They're rewarded in the form of a paycheck, and they do not act autonomously as an entrepreneur would, because they are dependent on the other employee or the organization that they work for. They pretty much share the same opportunities and threats as an entrepreneur. However, everything is happening in the context of a company. Now that we have that out of the way, we're going to move on to the challenges and opportunities of a business. There are so many reasons that one would want to start up a business. These are just a few. They are not by any means the singular right answer to why one might start up a business. But we have legacy, fame, family, benefiting human welfare, fulfillment, and profit. And profit is normally the number one reason that people think of, because people think that most businesses operate with the incentive to incur profit, which may or may not be true. But there is a process of starting a business. And this, again, there is no one specific right answer, but a lot of startups go through pretty much the same experience in this order. So generally, a business would look for market opportunities, see where they could fill the gap in the market. They would refine their business idea, kind of thinking about what their business is about in general, outline their business plan, which I'll speak about more in the next slide. Choose the type of business entity that they would like to operate as, which I'll speak about more in 1.2, seek finance, which I'll speak more about in 3.2, but essentially see where they're gonna get their finance from in order to sustain their business operations, and then begin trading. Like I said, the business plan is a document that outlines the business idea, as well as explains how the business aims to operate in functionality. There's no one specific standardized or required format for business plans, but typically they should include some of the previously mentioned elements. Okay, problems of starting a business. Again, there is no one singular right answer, but these are very common, and I and my friend Aoife have come up with an acronym to help you remember this. So we have organizational issues, we have management, business plan, legalities, finance, and let's see if I can fit this here, the market. Oops, that's horrific, but okay. Oh, my business plan left for the market. Very easy to remember. We came up with this while we were studying for our final exams, but I'm just going to run through these. If you have both organizational issues and management issues, you don't have a good structure to foster your business, especially if you're starting it up from the beginning. So that's not very good. If you don't have that from the very beginning, you can't expect for very profitable and very successful business. Your business plan, as I spoke about before, that is essentially what you want your business to be, your aims and goals for your business on a sheet of paper. So if you don't really have that down well, then it's going to be difficult for you to try to visualize that as you grow as a business. Legalities. A lot of businesses run into legal issues when they're starting up a business because they don't really take into account what they need to be fully legal businesses and how they must operate in accordance with different laws and legal systems. Finance. As I said before, finance is imperative to sustaining business operations. If you don't have finance as a business, you can't do anything. You can't sell anything. You can't buy anything. You just can't operate as a business. So if you don't have finance, you don't have a business. Lastly, we have the market. If the market is too competitive for your product, if it's too saturated for your product, there are so many things that you need to take into account how your product is going to fit into the market, if it is going to fit in at all, before you begin operating, because you need to see if this is actually a viable business, if you can incur profit. With that, I must bid you all adieu. That's going to be all for the 1.1 lesson. Thank you so much for sticking to the end, and 1.2 is soon to be out. Again, this is only the second course we have on this website, but hopefully we're going to start geography soon, and then after that, we're going to do some science topics like biology and ESS. So if you like this video, like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and that's going to be all. Goodbye.